What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Descendant build series for the First Descendant. Today we're going over my 2.0 builds for Kyle.
With my strength, I will pull everything towards me, even the final victory.
So Kyle just recently got an overhaul, and he's even more badass now than he was before. First, let's take a look at the changes to his abilities. His first ability now goes further and deals more damage. It also resets your jump, so you can use it up in the air repeatedly, which is pretty damn awesome. It makes short work of assault ships in Axion as well. Just grapple up and go to town, and if done right, you can take out multiple ships in a single go. His second ability is no longer held, which is amazing. Now it just pops up and glides along the floor, damaging any enemy it touches while still building up magnetic force. You can also spawn multiple shields at once now, which is really nice. His third ability is largely the same, though now grants reduced damage taken and increased movement speed while active. This makes him much more tanky, even while mobbing. His fourth ability in and of itself didn't really change much, but with the changes to his Collision Instinct transmod, his fourth is absolutely disgusting now. Kyle hovers in the air and bombards the ground with bombs, dealing massive amounts of damage. This thing is great for large groups, assault ships, and even bosses. It shreds everything like it's nothing. For transmods, you'll only need Collision Instinct. Feel free to experiment with the others if you want, but for me, Collision beats them all, hands down. Despite the tooltip still displaying the old text, it now changes Kyle's fourth into Superconductive Bombing Mark II. This, as I stated earlier, allows you to hover in midair and bomb the hell out of everything. You cannot move his body, but you can guide where the bombs go, down on the ground, up in the air, and everything in between. And it lasts a good long while, assuming you have enough magnetic force to sustain it, of course. The trigger module you'll want to use on Kyle is Battering Ram. This is by far the best for him. Simply use his first ability, which you're going to be doing a lot anyway, and you're set for massive damage output. Battering Ram not only deals damage, but it reduces both defense and attribute resistances by a max of 25% for all enemies hit by the shockwave it creates, which deals even more damage. It has a minimum 1.5 second cooldown and deals 376% continuous skill power damage every second for 3 seconds in a 12 meter radius. And with that out of the way, let's move on to the build. For mobbing, you'll want to focus on spamming his 1 to keep your magnetic force high, using 2 as needed. Weave in your third for damage mitigation, but also for the shockwave and that oh so sweet AoE damage and knockdown burst. It's insanely satisfying to manhandle large enemies, especially the spiker bastards in Axion. Just knocking them on their ass is just so gratifying. If you keep your third active when needed, and burst as needed for crowd control, you'll never worry about dying, and your damage will be absolutely through the roof. The mods for this build are Collision Instinct, Maximize Duration, Non-Attribute Amplification, Focus on Non-Attribute, Skill Expansion, Skill Extension, Maximize Conservation, Nimble Fingers, Battle of Stamina, MP Conversion, and Focus on Tech. Now, you can swap out focus on non-attribute for power increase if you want, but the loss of cooldown isn't really worth it in my opinion. I find this build does far more damage overall, but you do you. Here's what I use for the arcade tuning. And you'll want the non-attribute cohesion mutant cell. For bossing, I have two different builds. One for general bossing that does more damage. This is for void erosions and solo bossing. And the other with a slightly lower damage output but much higher survivability, which I use for Void Abyss and Wall Crasher. These builds are great and can handle everything the game throws at you with almost no fear of dying. Kyle is an absolute tanking powerhouse and can take most hits straight to the face without even flinching. The mods for the first bossing build, the higher damaging one, are Collision Instinct, Skill Expansion, HP Conversion Shield, Focus on Non-Attribute, Amplification Control, Increased Shield, Nimble Fingers, Maximize Conservation, Biosync Shield, Non-Attribute Amplification, and Dangerous Ambush. And for the more defensive build, the mods are Collision Instinct, Amplification Control, HP Conversion Shield, Focus on Non-Attribute, Overwhelming Shield, Increased HP, Focus on Dimension, Nimble Fingers, Battle of Stamina, MP Conversion, and Increased Shield. Here is the arcade tuning for these builds, and you'll want to use the Shield Enhanced RK Mutant Cell. Let's move on to the weapons. I really only use the Secret Garden on Kyle, but I have been playing around recently with the swords some. I think they're fun, but they do need some tweaking. The weapons I have equipped are the Secret Garden, the Deus Ex Manus, and the Exterminator. The Secret Garden is a must for its buffs to tech and dimension abilities. The Deus Ex is fun to mess around with and is really powerful already, despite not really being fully built. Not really being built at all, honestly. I'm kind of interested to see how it's going to look when it's fully built. The Exterminator I keep for when my 4th isn't up. I need to nuke assault ships or smack some bosses around. And here are the builds for those. For the Fellow, I highly recommend using the Vesper's Hunting Dog for the ammo refills. Since Kyle doesn't have MP and HP isn't really an issue, this is the best Fellow for him. For his Reactor, you'll want to use a Materialized Mechanics Reactor. You can use a Materialized Phase Reactor when bossing if you want, but it's not that big of a deal. I don't like to because it drops the damage of his 4 too much, and that's just not really worth it, in my opinion. But if you're having trouble and need a bit more survivability, this would probably be best for you. For external components, you'll want to use the Enlightened Mage set for mobbing, and the Moving Fortress set while tanking. Though, if I'm being honest, I just keep the Enlightened Mage set equipped all the time, and I do just fine. If you're having trouble surviving, though, you can use the Moving Fortress set. The Invader set is pretty good as well for longer fights like Deathstalker or the Void Abyss. For his Inversion Reinforcement, I use Fire Focus rounds for the extra fire damage, RK Circulation Tactics for the extra cooldown, and Shield Particle Reconfiguration for the extra defense and shields. Honestly, Kyle was pretty good before, but he's an absolute beast at mobbing now, an insanely good bosser now, which is incredible, and I have a lot of fun playing him. If you're looking for a character with great damage and great survivability, then Kyle is the one you want to use. I can only imagine how disgusting his ultimate is going to be when it finally drops, whenever the hell that is, but I digress. Check out my other Descendant build videos, and please feel free to ask any questions you may have about this build or about Kyle himself. And that's it for this video, guys. As always, thank you for watching. and I'll catch you next time. Later.